It's a Town of Nottingham Planning Board meeting, Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. This is our business meeting of the year, and this is when we go through and introduce all of the members. We elect officers of the board. We're going to go through our 2021 planning goals and accept our bylaws. We are not holding any public hearing or public meetings, although public is welcome to sit and watch. Just a note on the change, we are meeting in person. Everybody here understands that. The town is looking at, but does not have the current capability of doing a dual zoning or a Zoom meeting and in-person meeting. So they are looking at having that capability moving forward or in the future. Just, we're not going to have that right off. So we will be having in-person meetings. Public will be coming to the meetings. Public will need to come to the meetings to have input, provide input. Applicants will have to be at these meetings. We won't have any other way to Zoom them in yet.
Yep.
The selectmen are looking at least I understand it, they might be looking at some investment.
Hybrid, yeah.
Yeah, of that. But at this time, and probably for the near future, we'll just be doing old school. I personally think it's important, and I do think it helped out a lot with having Zoom meetings. It helped a lot with having public access. I think it worked out better than even just having it on a channel. I think people these days are probably accessing things through their computer and the web. We will continue to have all of our recordings uploaded to YouTube, so that will be still available ongoing as sort of a record. None of those are being deleted at this time. But I think for public participation, involvement, and visibility, Zoom is, or online meeting, whoever hosts it, is a good thing for public meetings such as ours.
I've seen it work pretty well for a couple of municipalities that I present at, and
We only have that much space, or you can go into the gym.
yeah,
Anywhere, I think it's better off to, I think we should beat, but, and some people or whatever, but it gives them the ability
Yeah.
to participate.
Yeah.
So,
And you can submit email or written correspondence to us, but you have to make sure you get it probably at least a week ahead of time to make sure that it is received before a meeting
Yep.
to be considered.
And the other piece of information is our previous planning secretary has left, so she took a position somewhere else. And so currently we have a vacant position, the town has a vacant position for that, and the zoning secretary. And if you would like to apply, and this goes to the public, if you would like to apply, just contact Chris Sterndale or anybody else at the town office, and set up a meeting, and the applications are being accepted. There has been a couple of applicants, but those got jobs right away, so they didn't come to their interviews. It is a very limited pool of interest. There are other communities looking for the same person or capabilities. So in the interim, myself and Ed, and we'll probably be asking a couple other members to assist with some of the paperwork. Chris Sterndale will be taking on most of the notices that go out to public, any of that interfacing with the legal notices, he'll be handling, and SRPC will be helping out a little bit more on maybe communicating with applicants and reviewing applications as they come in. And we currently do not have anybody that can take minutes during our meeting. Jen's going to help out with that tonight. Moving forward, Chris said that he might have somebody lined up for that. So I might task somebody, if we don't have somebody for the next meeting, to just try and jot down some notes as we go. We always have the video that we can go back on. And as far as the outstanding minutes that we have, there's, I think, a set of 3. And so you just had the latest round of revisions. And I have Joanna's notes. I'll take those, create the,
The ones that I sent via internet?
yeah, I'll take those and create the final draft, circulate those, and then this next meeting, we can probably just
Okay,
vote
very
on
good.
those. You miss anything there, Ed?
Roll call.
Just roll call?
Just roll call.
I don't have to, I don't have to announce it, I can have everybody introduce themselves, right?
Sure can. Oh, yeah.
You have
Alright,
to toggle through your views on that Zoom.
It's so new.
Who's first? I don't even know what to do. Buzz, can you start with the introductions?
Robert Davies, alternate.
Tyler Eden, Select Board.
Gary Anderson.
Edward Veal.
Dirk Grotenhuis.
Susan Mooney?
Ian McKinnon.
And welcome to those new but old, experienced members and the ones who got reelected.
Former would be a better word rather than old.
I always look to you for the proper grammar.
Right here.
And everybody says he has to get sworn in, newly elected.
Yes.
Sworn in? Okay, excellent. Then you guys can vote. So we got the introduction of members. We're going to have the election of officers, and I'll just, go as I usually have. Someone will need to make a nomination, and then the person who is nominated has to accept that nomination, and then we'll vote on that. Again, I'd like to say that all of these are just a blank slate, and any position is, if you like interest in it, you can voice that interest. As the chair, I have liked this role, but I'm happy if anybody else likes the role too. So I'm open to a change, or not open to it, so I'll serve if needed. That being said, if there's any nominations for chair, let me know.
So, to echo what Dirk said, these are always changeable seats, and we've sat in these for a few years here, and appreciate that, but I'm also open to, if anybody else wants this role, that role, to step up. I do appreciate Dirk's leadership and guidance and kind of even-handedness at running meetings. So if nobody else is interested in the chair position, I would nominate, I don't want to say it that way, because that sounds like it's a...
If nobody else wants it, we'll settle on Dirk.
To further discussion on it, I nominate Mr. Grotenhuis for planning board chair.
Second.
Any discussion? Anybody want to counter offer? All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Wow, unanimous vote. I appreciate that vote of confidence.
Appreciate all you've been doing in the past, so look forward to more.
Well, I couldn't do it without you. All right, so let's then go to the vice chair. Again, if anybody's interested in that and has a nomination that they would like to have, then please voice that.
I nominate Ed Veal for the position of vice chair.
I'll second that. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, indicate aye.
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 Opposed? Okay,
Thank you, everybody. It's like I said, appreciate being up here and always open to changes. I know everybody takes on different pieces and different roles, so it's not like there's a lack of work for, for anyone, so,
no.
thank you.
And for secretary, again, same thing, and it's an open seat, anybody wanting to do it, they can voice that, or at this point, I'd like to nominate Susan Mooney to be secretary, if so willing.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay, motion and a second. Any other discussion? And those in favor indicate aye. Any opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Sue. The next position is a CIP rep. This has been vacant since Joe Clough left. He was the previous rep. So this is something that, you know, we would like to get filled. It's, I don't know all of the ins and outs of that position. It seemed like, you know, even maybe the, Tyler, you can mention to it, you know, what's involved, but, you know, it doesn't seem like it's a exorbitant amount of time. It's just a really condensed, focused time. I don't know if anybody's interested in,
I would like to express interest in that.
okay, great.
And I think with the CIP rep, I think it does, they don't really ramp up
No.
meetings until fall-ish. Yeah.
Okay,
Nominate Gary.
okay.
Second?
There's a motion, nomination, a second. Those in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary, for, I know, I think we've got a hold on that for a while. Thank you.
We do have a position that's the SRPC representative. That was held by Gary previously, and again, it's an open seat. It's interesting because we do have quite a heavy now RPC representation. So, but what it means is that each town has a member or multiple members that has the ability and should attend meetings like Gary does to, with the other communities and the SRPC, to be up to date on new regulations, new projects in the area, new planning initiatives and such, so, and where grants and money come from. So that's an important position for our board to be involved with. So anyone want to voice interest in that? And
Gary,
Those meetings usually during the day, Gary?
I was going to kind of speak to that and just say that what I have found is, because mainly meetings were once a month, Friday mornings, that was difficult for my schedule generally. And so I was having difficulty making those meetings. I would try to keep up with the info best I could otherwise, but so yeah, I think that the scheduling maybe for somebody that can make those meetings easier may be important.
do you know how long are they like 1 hour meetings usually, or
Generally an hour, yeah.
is there usually like a fixed time?
1 to 2 hours, 9 to 11?
11 at the worst.
9 to 11, usually,
Yeah, typically we're done at 10:30.
in Rochester.
Rochester.
And
I should point out, Jen, the director of the SRPC is here. She could probably give a better description than any of us on the reasons and the involvements, unless I missed something.
Happy to if you want to.
Yeah,
You listed out quite a few of them, and you know, I was gesticulating to Dirk from the background here. There's a lot of money out there right now for grants and whatnot, and they're reaching out to the regional planning commissions to try and figure out who's got projects and where those dollars should go. So that right now is like the biggest and hugest reason to be at the table. So yeah, as Gary mentioned, we do monthly meetings. They are Friday mornings. It's the third Friday of the month at 9 a.m. is what is called our policy committee meeting. Policy committee governs all of our federal transportation programs. That's where and how all of those federal transportation dollars get allocated. So part of the process is that under federal regulations, that we work with our communities to identify where those transportation improvement dollars should be expended. And so that happens around that table. Those investments are decided around that table and then sent up to DOT. By not having someone at the meeting, you're not getting that say or vote in how those dollars are expended. So that's a big, another real big incentive. We do also have our quarterly commission meetings. We'll put a plug in. We do have what would have been our annual meeting tomorrow afternoon. We're simply doing a webinar instead. So the commission typically meets one Thursday afternoon in the end of February, the end of June, the end of September, and the beginning of December. The commission governs like all of the regional planning activities, so they're the ones that adopt our budget and look at where and how we conduct other business, including our economic development programs. So that happens at those quarterly meetings. Every now and then we'll run kind of a 2 meetings in one on those Friday mornings to cover some of the planning commission business as well as the transportation business. That's kind of the meeting bit in a nutshell. But I think by and large, the big thing is just that hub of information and resources that we have and can get to communities through that avenue. It's good to be there.
So is anybody interested in that?
And I think we have potentially 2.
2 people? Yeah, we do have 2 seats.
Yeah, you do have 2 seats. So
'Cause it's me
kind of-
currently and Gary, and I'm,
Yeah. So one of the things I will say is this is always the awkward part. So Nottingham doesn't pay dues, so you don't always get to vote.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yes. Transportation programs, though, you do get a vote. You get 1 vote because federal regs say you get a vote. But then for the other programs that we do, you wouldn't get to vote.
How much is the dues?
For Nottingham, I think
it's like about 3,000.
you might somewhere between there, probably in 5 or 6.
Oh, is it?
It might
Okay.
be 5.
Maybe I was too low.
Yeah, I don't know. Each town has a different. Each town it's different.
We used to,
Yeah.
Should we, or
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we
We
were.
got cut.
We
could I bring that up Monday at the meeting then?
yeah, I mean, we advocate it usually every year. So I would say yes.
Especially you said there's federal money maybe out there that, yeah, okay, I'll bring it up Monday.
Gets us another vote.
That is something I've suggested in the past.
Yeah.
To
Yeah, I
get
think
back
there's-
into that.
History there of
Yes.
Rockingham, Stratford,
Yeah,
not paying dues, contracting at times instead,
Yeah.
doing it at pay as you go kind of thing instead of,
And we charge a premium when you pay as you go.
And we're paying as we go right now. So we are enlisting their services. Savings all around, I hear.
bring it up Monday.
Thanks, Jen.
Yep.
Any takers on that? And we can always, if somebody wants to think about it a little bit more, we can always do that another time. It's,
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
I mean, can it be something that,
You know, I'll be challenged as was Gary. but-
Friday mornings are just hard
does
to
it have
make,
to be
so I
the
can't
same
do
2
it.
people, or could it be people, I mean, if someone's available, say, I can go to this one, but I can't go to
if
the
we
I
next.
think we have to be designated.
Designated,
we
yes.
have 2. Gary, do you want the position anymore?
Well, I was gonna say, I'm happy to stay on and
Okay.
do what I can, as I have. But,
This is exact,
it'd be great to have another person that
I do work
wants to.
in Rochester, not
Especially
far
for
from there,
pay to be
so I could probably,
members, then having 2, you have a better
I mean,
chance of having
yeah, like
somebody
if
there.
there's 2 of us and we could rotate off months,
Yeah.
you know, it could be more manageable and we can coordinate that. and-
I agree.
yeah, then the other person really just needs to read the minutes of the previous meeting to get up to speed,
Yeah.
because they're pretty thorough.
Yeah.
All right, I'll nominate Gary and Sue.
No, Charlie.
I mean Shirley. Yeah, Sue jumped in really quick.
That would never have happened.
I'll second that. Gary and Shirley.
All right, any other discussion? Everybody in favor, indicate aye.
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 Opposed? All right, well, thank you for volunteering into that position, both of you.
And if either of you find it becomes too much and one of you wants to step off, I'd be willing to jump in, because again, I feel guilty, I work down the road from them, so.
Yeah.
Fridays can be tough, because everybody takes them off.
When I've been in that position for, I don't know, maybe 6 years, and I started gung ho right at the beginning, and then you know, you just get overcommitted and you don't go back. Sorry, but other priorities like work and family happen. Okay, well, thank you. Those are the last positions. All right, planning goals. I think we always ask for the list.
I know the code enforcer had some that we
Building height
moved
was.
to the next year.
Yeah, just essentially coming up with our list. I know we mentioned it last time, is come up with our list of items that we might want to address further with the code and such.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the priority seems to be the building height, because we've already kind of pushed that.
Yeah.
That sounds like
The building what?
the building height
Yeah.
and
How
the
it's
definition
measured.
and how it's measured. And I mentioned in the meeting last time that I came across, the city of Portsmouth actually has some pretty good drawings in their code. And I'll have to, maybe I can bring a printout or something, but I know with the, I think the diagram's gonna be necessary with the fire chief and the code enforcer.
Mm-hmm.
Both, I know they kind of had both different interpretations of what they thought it should be measured from, but either way, whatever we come up with, the diagram will be good, but that seems to be the primary goal, I think.
And Jen, I don't know if Steph had kept that list, if you got, yeah. We had stuff that we kept adding to it and had prioritized at one point.
So, I know there were two lists, but I do have the kind of the list that she did in her handoff memo of things that should be, coming up. So, let's see, she did mention that there are some inconsistencies between the land use, regulations. An example was, no, I don't have a concrete example. Sorry, it was just more saying it was like what you recently did with the zoning ordinance, just going through and kind of cleaning up any, smaller items. Other possible work, application checklist maybe needed to be updated. Minor site plan application, needed to develop a minor site plan application. Reviving the board's transportation and master plan subcommittees.
Mm-hmm.
Home occupation regulations around the licenses that need to be shown as part of the application. So trying to clean up, tighten up those, and like one question that has come up is, does telecommuting equal a home occupation? And one thing we just talked about, a zoning amendment, potential to consider frontage requirements for curves and corner lots and how they're calculated.
I feel like that one's easy, because I feel like there's a lot of current language out there with other
Yeah.
towns that
There's a ton of it,
define
yeah.
that very clearly, and I think we've kind of lucked out and it hasn't come up, but, we're seeing more cul-de-sacs in most towns. I think you have to do the, arc, or the radius, not the arc, or whichever. Straight line instead, not the curve. So it changes all that, so it's how many lots and the way the access is.
And if we don't have definition on it, there's ways to cheat some of those regulations if we don't clearly state something like that, you know?
Yep.
I know that we also had one on proposing a driveway setback for new houses to keep it away from the property line.
Property line.
So it's not just right on that line.
Driveway or roadway, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything currently for even the roads that you could put a new road right on a property line.
Can we set aside a meeting in the future to
Yeah. To go over
go over a
more?
list? Yeah, and see
Yeah.
if
Yeah, I
Dale
mean,
has
we-
any additional thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we have the list from Dale previously. You know, we can do that in, you know, future meetings. I mean, we need to be doing it anyway, because we're gonna need to be discussing these items.
That's what I was thinking, is we gotta figure, almost backtrack and figure out when's the latest that we can have like a list of priority ones that we wanna tackle this year. Because with SB2, we have those set, was it late fall, right? November or something? December was like the drop dead date to do the notices for the public meetings.
Yeah,
We just have to
And
be
I was gonna
quick.
say, that would be here, I imagine, pretty fast at this rate.
I feel like the other ones that had been on the list that we pushed because of waiting for the legislative updates or just a low priority, the tiny house thing has come up and gone away. I think short-term rentals has been discussed, but never to a high degree, because we just haven't seen
There's not a
impact
big
here at the
demand.
moment. ADUs generally comes up as a talking point about detached versus attached. And then I know Dale's brought up fence, doing like a fence setback before.
That's right, yeah.
And then after that, it's whatever we had still from the master plan. Last master plan identification, which we've ticked some of those off. I think steep slopes was one we've pushed a few times. We've got the stream buffer now, and vernal pool. So,
Yeah, we should revisit those action items out of that master plan. And we may even start thinking about a master plan update. You know, having a committee, getting some of the planning going again, discussions about that. And I would like also to recommit some of that transportation subcommittee. There were some unfinished items that were on that I would like to move forward. So that's something I'd like to reestablish.
some of that seems like it might be just a letter every year from us or the select board to DOT and to keep it on their agenda of.
And BOS.
Right, and the board.
Yeah, it's in the board, yeah, in the board of selectmen and letters to the DOT.
It would be nice to get scenic road medallions up as well.
Right. That's another thing, is scenic roads in general. I mean, that was part of a little bit part of that transportation subcommittee that we were
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
is getting a little bit more notice of where those scenic roads are. And I live on one, but I do know that when I'm talking to my neighbors, they don't.
They don't know.
And, you know, there's requirements for being on a scenic road, and, you know, there's someone that, you know, will cut a tree down on Ledge Farm and have no idea that they needed to come to the planning board for that.
Yep.
You know, and if there's some education to those people that are in the town too, of where those scenic roads are, you know, it could be a benefit, a big benefit to communities. Because there aren't that many scenic roads left in New Hampshire. So,
We probably have more than I think what most towns have. We have quite the list of
This
scenic roads.
corner of the world, I think, does, between us and
Yeah.
Deerfield. And
yeah.
Remember how many we have?
It sounds about right, though, I
Yeah.
think, yeah. I think my town maybe
Sections.
2 or 3, yeah.
Susan, you say you wanna have them posted? I mean, like signs out there too,
Yeah,
or?
Deerfield has these
see
medallions that
that
they
one.
just attach right
Yeah.
onto their street signs. And, you know, for outreach, it would really help a lot. And would encourage people to use these areas for walking and biking off the beaten path, so to speak.
Yeah, we had written the transportation subcommittee had written a letter to the Board of Selectmen a couple years ago outlining some of those, and there just wasn't any action or on that. And one of the action items I was supposed to do was redo that letter and send it, which I
But
didn't.
I think that at that time, the issue was, it's not in the budget, come back to us in the fall.
Right.
And so this year, when I and Courtney discussed this in terms of maybe the recreation department can take a look at this and tie it in with their community health program and that sort of thing. Again, not in the budget.
Right.
But it sounds like it's something we could, I mean, as a board, you can always propose something to be in the budget. Obviously, we have a pretty standard couple line items for the planning board,
Well,
but
there
Yeah, I
might
mean,
be
it's
money
probably-
left over too.
imagine we could certainly propose a line item for,
I think we even costed them out, didn't we?
They're like
It was
$1,000, $1,200 for
Yeah,
enough
Yeah.
for,
for 16.
yeah,
so we could maybe even build that into the planning board budget.
yeah.
Because I know the Public Works budget didn't have that in there.
Mhm.
Didn't have enough room to include signage.
Signage, yeah.
So, yeah, that's something we want to continue on.
It's really a good thing to consider almost even whether it's the Conservation Commission or Planning Board, because like, I know the Conservation Commission's really worked on signage of some of the newer trail areas or something like that. And it's
Yes,
almost like
yeah.
having something, you got a sign to replace and you keep a standing budget where
Yeah, that's the
sign
Trails
needs
Committee of
replacement,
that,
yeah.
yeah. They've done a nice job.
It's a good thing to get on a line item on the budget that whether we put a dollar in it one year because we don't need it, or you have a couple signs you need replaced, but.
Jen, before we forget, so would you mind just emailing ourselves so we can maybe present it to Chris, the town administrator, or the BOS about the benefits and such of becoming a paying dues member again? And then the second part would be for the master plan committee. It's been a tough thing for us to get going, basically try and get public involvement in it. I know some towns do, I think, charrettes, if that's the right word for it. Is that something SRPC, do you help facilitate those, or is that usually a third party that,
Yeah,
like, New
we
Hampshire
could
listings, or?
kind of figure out scope and whether it's something that we can do in-house versus need someone else to partner with.
Yeah,
Certainly.
because obviously the public input part
Yeah.
is supposed to be the help that guides us on those updates. So besides just the census data and all the logistics of it, it's trying to get some real community input to help guide in the direction of it.
Yeah, we have a couple staff members that that's their primary focus and work task, is work on the outreach and education and communications items.
I suggest we stage the master plan. So, I mean, I think the first step would be that we get together with the COMSCOM and the CBA and the Board of Selectmen, we go through that action list and start checking off things. I think we had done that one year, just the planning board went through it, but I think it's been quite a while. I think once we can figure out what we've done,
Yeah.
then, and then I thought we went over too, like, is this still applicable, you know, too, and then, you know, some stuff like that there. And then, I thought we were gonna like take it, kind of chunk it to try to prioritize certain chapters
Mhm.
to make it manageable instead of just.
Yeah, that's how we did it before, right? And I think we started to maybe even, again, revise it in that same fashion, and I think that's what the Transportation Committee was
Yeah,
gonna be
that's
doing, the transportation one. And I know Joe Clough was kind of organizing on some of those separate, environmental one and then some other ones, but yeah, it just,
It's Joe's fault.
it's Joe's fault.
And I can't remember, we had a gentleman, I can't remember his name, but actually, wasn't it back in the fall when we were on Zoom at some point, there was a gentleman that had expressed
Yeah.
interest in joining the
Yes.
master plan, and then we said we'd touch base once we actually got that revived, and,
Mansager.
yes, yeah.
So,
So I know there's already some interest there, but
Yeah.
I do think it's a good idea, to touch base with the town board first, those are the easier ones to get in touch with, so.
And you're right, yeah, there's obviously just the raw data stuff that needs to get updated that comes from the census, which I don't know if that information's really come out yet, but.
All right, any other glaring ones that we omitted, or, I mean, we can obviously push this to another meeting where we really have time to focus and discuss these in more details.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe, and should we confirm with Dale if anything's
Yeah.
come up since then? But I think his list probably hasn't changed much.
No,
so-
his list was pretty comprehensive. All right, great, thanks. And let's get on to the acceptance of bylaws. Everybody has a copy but me.
They're double-sided, just make it for you. So I had mentioned, so I know Sue had some comments for last year that we just had never gotten to updating. And then I promised, as part of this, so we had two takeaways, one from our last meeting where, you know, could we hold a regular meeting after this meeting? And our current bylaws don't allow that, so we could change our bylaw to say, you know, that we could do a workshop after this, or, you know, a regular meeting after our non-meeting meeting. So that's one change we could make. And then the other part was, we would have to update our bylaws if we want to consider doing hybrid type of meetings. So right now, according to the NHMA publication just a couple weeks ago, when the emergency order expired, basically boards no longer have the authority, and I'll let Jen stop me if I speak out of turn. We no longer have the authority to meet without a physical location. We have to, in a quorum of members has to be here for said meeting. So you can put it in your bylaws that make ways for alternative methods as well, as long as a quorum is present in the physical location. So you could do that by Zoom, and then you have to spell out, is Zoom only for people to be able to hear the meeting and they can't participate, meeting in public? And if so, you have to make sure you make that very clear in the postings and in our bylaws, or, you know, how it's gonna be allowed for that to occur. And then again, the probably headaches with that would be if something happens to the internet connection and Zoom goes out, well, now you probably have to either continue the public hearing. You could, because those people have been removed from the meeting that potentially wanted to speak. So that said, I think our current bylaws do allow for someone to call in, like a member of the board. And I meant to search it before, I forgot. I thought we did have that in here. Anyway. So that's some language we could think about, and there's RSA's that back it up. The legislature, I think, is working on some additional possible changes to that, because obviously this is not just us and our board that is considering doing this, and I think a lot of people found it to be very helpful, you know, to be able to join in. Participation probably increased quite a bit, because people could do it from the comfort of their home, instead of being here at, you know, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, if they wanted to make a comment on an application.
So if we're gonna make any changes to these bylaws, we have to do it tonight? Is that what you're saying?
Nope.
Oh, I thought that's,
No, our bylaws, the way I understand our bylaws is that we can amend them and accept them at any time by vote. I'm seeing it, not head nod, I got it right. So it's not like a zoning ordinance, something that's get voted on by the public, it's just that we have to just, you know, discuss it and accept it.
okay. So it isn't truly, we have to accept them tonight. We just can discuss them and make some revisions and then accept them at a later date.
Yeah, historically, every year at this meeting, this has always been one of the agenda items, is to re-review these, re-adopt them. But my understanding is, if we've adopted them and we don't amend them, they're technically adopted, we're still operating under those.
Well, I think that's what we've done in the past, is that we just, you know, accept them every year without many changes, and then we find ourselves throughout the year going, you know, why didn't we change that?
Yeah.
So I think we should pause and take a little bit more level of detail review, since things have, you know, changed communication-wise, and so that's another thing that we'll have to maybe have another separate meeting, or at least a discussion item in a future meeting to change these.
Yeah, and some of these things, yeah, you know, the planning board duties, you know, about us attending other conferences and meetings, and the planning board may, by majority vote, authorize the payment of expenses. It's like, well, that's been the practice, but there's a few things we probably probably need to check on and make sure that it's still the way we need to do it.
Yeah, typically, right. Typically
So do you want people to choose areas that they see and maybe jot down actual verbiage for
Yeah.
a possible amendment?
Let's take the next couple weeks to, you know, read through this, see if there's some things that we should change moving
Yeah.
into the year. And, we'll reconvene on this matter. I'd like to say on the 14th, but we have a pretty heavy agenda on the 14th, so let's make it the 28th.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
All right, so we'll put that on the agenda for the 28th, so that's some homework. And then we'll have a list of homework for these, finalizing kind of the list of items to go through for the year. I mean, it's gonna be a short year, so, I mean, we're already in June. We're usually talking about this in March, so we have to be realistic on prioritizing and things that we can work our way through.
I think that actually kind of helps, because some of the, I think when we start in March, we're so far out from when we can actually start taking action and hold public hearings on changes that it gets kind of pushed or lost. So I think it's, in a way, kind of helpful that it's a abbreviated schedule, because we're closer to those action dates that Ian had mentioned.
Yep. Okay. Any other discussion on the bylaws?
Well, on the bylaw too, Joanna had sent out, that there were two things that were from the April 2020 meeting.
Yeah, I didn't print those out.
One was, HB 1629, and it got passed. I looked that up, it did not pass, so Article 2, Section 3 language, I believe that we have in here, and was correct. And it's as stated. And then the other one was Article 5, Section 2, edit initial RSA, cleaning up the adopted dates. There were two other things that had been discussed last year that we.
Yeah, I think, because the date adopted it, it's not like, I think we did the same thing with the zoning amendments or site plan. You know, we had like this list of adopted dates, and it's like, well, they weren't changed, they weren't amended, they were just readopted. So I don't think we need to print those all out into the bylaw. It would just be the current adopted date
Yeah.
that would change, or be added instead. In the House bill that you mentioned, I think that one was the proposal to say instead of May, for training, basically instead of May attend training, it was gonna require newly elected people to take training.
Yeah, and that whole, looking at what, they completely threw it out.
Yep.
Okay.
It still says may, though. Excuse me, Article 2, Section 3, may at the member's option for training.
Which is what the RSA currently says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
There was also on the last page, the authorization page, where the dates are out of order. 2007 date should be the first that shows, and then all the 2008 adoptions. You see that on the last page,
I
authorization?
think maybe that was cleaned up, because it goes the right way
I
now.
don't have a copy there, but right here, this is the date that should be first, and that should precede all the other ones. That's just a
I
typo.
think that was cleaned up.
So you mean all the dates are in the wrong order?
No,
No, 2007 should be first.
Yeah, this one got.
I was gonna say, I'm seeing that
I think,
online.
yeah, I was gonna say,
This one has.
I think Joanna cleaned that up.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just have the old copy then.
Yeah.
Never mind. All set.
Dirk, I just a question. It seems to me that this section on planning board clerk doesn't have any, it doesn't designate any options. In other words, the clerk shall do this and this and this and this, but it doesn't say who takes over when the clerk's not, whose job it is to take care of the clerk's work, and we don't have a clerk. Just seems like that it's kind of ambiguous.
Or who it reverts to. Right, automatically, yeah.
Right. It's nice that you're taking the responsibility to do it, but is it really your responsibility?
Well, I'm not taking all the responsibility.
Right, to your point, though, you know, do we need
Yeah.
to lay that out as to,
Well, somebody is acting as a clerk, right, I think.
Who is?
I'm not sure.
I'm guessing it would
I
need to
think
be
it's split
somebody
between
like,
three people, maybe.
but I'm guessing like the official clerk would be maybe like Chris or somebody who's employed by the town as well. But that's a question for like, yeah, do you need a section 8 that just clearly states who the next interim, whether he's not gonna be doing all the work, but,
I think you can just add something where it's like, or otherwise designated.
yep,
I don't
or a
know.
designee, you know.
Yeah, designated.
Right, because, you know, it could be, like, we had a meeting before this, and Jen indicated that there's another community that doesn't have a clerk, that they're providing that service directly for them, or it's just vacant, and there's, you know, it's all virtual by appointment. So if somebody, and then it falls under the chair or the planning board, or a hired contractor to talk with the applicant and get them through that.
But that kind of is my question. The clerk, the first line is the clerk and employee of the town. None of us are really employees of the town. We're all volunteer board members.
Right, right.
I'll ask
we
Chris.
could easily change it to or duly authorized employee of the town. But, yeah, I mean, you're right, it's something we probably need to make clear, because that part's the legal part of it. It's like, who's accepting these applications,
Exactly.
stamping the date that they're received, which holds us to the RSA's and state laws.
Yeah.
Starts the clock.
And then also, we probably need to make sure we're just consistent with whatever the title is. Because it used to be planning board clerk, and now it's land use clerk or secretary, and, yeah, that'd be helpful.
I can ask you at Monday's meeting as well. Chris is, who is doing it?
Yeah, and if it's maybe it's the town clerk that it falls to, you know, that's an official
But we need to
position.
find out.
And then if there isn't the land use planning clerk, then it's the town clerk that accepts those.
Which does make sense, because there's certain applications, state applications where the town clerk actually is the signatory, like wetland permits and stuff like that. The town clerk actually signs.
Yeah, not the land
It
use.
doesn't matter if there's a land use clerk or anything like that. The town clerk is the only one that has the legal ability to sign on behalf of the town for certain stuff.
These
so-
are our bylaws, so, I mean, we can amend them.
Right.
But it's good.
That's not a requirement of
Bring
the
up
state
now.
that we have to have it.
No, it's good, because, I mean, again, there are rules of procedure, so it's a matter of, in a way, if someone was to come in here, it's all new board, and nobody, they hadn't been here before, and they were gonna try to operate through this, they could get through a meeting and say, okay, this is how we do it, and it's clear,
Yep.
and this is how we make a motion, and this is how we take action, this is what we do, and who's responsible, so.
I'll make a motion that we have nominate Charlene to do it, or?
No, and some of these, I know the town administrator, so some of these, so the clerk being the employee of the town, ultimately their duties in that person's absence, I believe, automatically fall to the town administrator to designate. And some of these, the town administrator is designated to themselves, like the posting of the agendas and such in public places and those items that, to meet the requirements of the law. But you're correct, I think that's somewhere in a few areas, maybe in our bylaws and in some of our regulations where we say our designee, you know, we need to specify a little bit more clearly who that is.
Yep.
All right.
In this section, Article 6 that we're looking at, doesn't even say who the clerk is. It doesn't say land use clerk, town clerk.
Well, times our clerk. The article, but
It's the clerk.
At the time.
you're right, yeah, the title, we need to just confirm that, the title of the person.
But even that should be changed.
Yeah.
Because the job title changed.
Yeah.
And where did you get these copies?
I think this was I think this one, Joanna, oh, these copies?
Yeah, because apparently I don't have the updated one, just the one I wrote all over.
Yeah, Joanna emailed them like, just a couple, one of her last things that she emailed them out with some minutes, I think, or with.
There's a couple files on the email.
The email subject wasn't rules of procedure, it was something else. I had to go back and try to find them. I'll find it and I'll send it to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So do we need to make a motion to push these, or we're just not gonna take action on them, right?
I don't think we need a motion, a vote to move them to another meeting. I think all we have it is just,
We'll just operate and then adopt new
Discussion.
ones later. Okay.
yep.
Basically, unless someone wants to make a motion to not continue with these, I would think we're fine to just table it until the 28th and then look at them again.
Anything else on bylaws? Okay. Well, we'll move, to,
Can we just back up?
we're already past the agenda.
So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as our actions for this. So we're all supposed to bring to the 28th our revisions. At the 28th, not send them to Jen or anybody ahead of time so that we're looking at a drafted marked out copy on the 28th.
Okay, but, well, the thing is that then if it's already,
If somebody, I guess
somebody
there's
doesn't
gonna be
agree to
some,
it, we should want to have a discussion before.
But what we'd have a discussion, it would be a drafted, marked up
Right,
copy
okay.
that would show where the edits are, and then we can discuss them. Or she could put them in comments or whatever. I'm just thinking that would be easier to do than,
what Steph did for like the wetland.
That's fine.
Revisions
That's,
and
that,
stuff.
yeah.
And I imagine we might have a couple sections where people may suggest a slightly different language or something like that, which we could show
Okay,
multiple.
yeah, if we could come with a draft, and that means everybody needs to get those drafts 1 week prior to the 28th. Does that give you enough time? A week prior?
To try to consolidate the email to,
Mark's gonna do.
Mark, does that work for you? Okay,
that's okay, I think I called you,
What else can he
and I think I
say?
called Mark Chris in the other room, I apologize, Mark. Do you want us to email you?
Yeah, just, yeah.
So please just do it as one email
Around.
that says amendment to rules of procedure.
yeah, that way it's, actually, that's helpful, because that way there's not a lot of back and forth through those. So if you just direct email them to
Yeah.
Jen, then you don't have a lot of,
And if you can't find the email from Joanna with the file, just shoot me a quick note and I'll forward it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes.
good. All right, I'll back up any further? All right, so I'll just recap it, that, so we have the list of items that we want to go through for this year. We'll have discussion of that on that 28th as well, as well as the bylaws, and we'll get those bylaws edits to Jen the week prior to the 28th, and then we'll go through both of those and have this final plan of goals, and we'll vote on the we'll accept the bylaws.
Broadcast.
Okay? All right, well, I'm gonna ask everybody for an update, since we haven't really.
One last thing, I guess,
Wait for you to finish.
should we bring up, we mentioned the master planning traffic subcommittee. Do we have a timeline of when, and we've mentioned that it's probably needed. Is that I mean, I don't want to add too much to us, but is that something we need to get going by the end of summer, you think? Like, I don't know what the process is of reviving the master plan committee or.
Yeah, I mean, there is a time limit, but that we have to get revisions by, but I think
Yeah.
we're well ahead of that. But our last master plan was 2015.
Is it every
It's
10 years? or
7
something?
years?
Is-
Every
Six?
6 to 10.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right at that,
So we're right at the beginning.
right at the beginning of this.
We're not too far off, I
And we're still doing a lot better than a lot of communities.
think. Yeah, and I think,
10
you know,
plus
I think,
years,
like
so.
you said, there was the transportation subcommittee that, did a lot and looked at that and just, so I think that if we kind of dust it off.
Yeah, then let's dust off the and discuss the approach.
Yeah.
And set up a plan of, either chapters or bundles or however to attack that,
Okay.
right?
Sounds like a plan.
And I lied, I don't think there's anything in our current bylaws that allow remote participation in any way, shape, or form. I thought there was.
Yeah, I didn't see anything about calling in when I read through it, but
Maybe we talked about it before.
Thank you for pushing.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to get to, although we probably have more applications still coming, but of having, a meeting dedicated to applications and a meeting dedicated to some of this other work. I know we've tried that in the past, and it just, applicants are just.
they don't want to wait a month.
They don't want to wait, they don't, and we do offer, 2 meetings a month. Some communities only do 1. But even when it's busy, we still need to have all that, the other time to get some of the,
It's probably a matter of controlling that second meeting's agenda if we know we gotta
right,
limit the number of cases or type of case, because as we know, one case can take as much time as 3 smaller ones, so.
I think we can also, not that I want to make those meetings any longer, but you can do a workshop, like, say, 6:30 to 7, and then the meeting, if we feel we have stuff that at least just needs a discussion
Mm,
to push forward, not a whole meeting,
it's not a bad idea, yeah.
thinking outside the box. Changing it up.
When we don't approve the minutes or whatever, whether somebody wasn't here or somebody didn't read them or whatever, are they still posted within the 5 days though? Unofficial, no?
They're available.
Available,
They're not
okay.
posted,
Okay, I was just reading it.
or have been that way.
They don't have to be posted, they just have to be available.
It just has to be basically a pretty brief summary of the meeting.
Okay.
Came up somewhere else.
yeah. Okay. Do we want to do any updates, or are we good?
I don't have anything.
You don't have anything?
Except the bear that ran through our yard yesterday.
Take your bird feeders down?
Just one,
Uh-huh.
or get whaled with a rock in his belly.
Flutter Street drive-through. Fair drive-through.
Ian, any updates?
Nothing for me. Hopefully the remote meetings might work out in the future. I've seen them work pretty well through some of us, and there's different, the webinar style of Zoom works pretty well. Town can control really who's actually seen, and it's a cleaner way, but then you need somebody to run it, so.
Yeah.
Takes a little work, but it produces a clean product, so
It's the
hopefully that works out.
most difficult thing in a smaller town is the IT demands of
Yeah.
who figures it out.
Yeah,
who
like
sets
this,
it up.
the communities I've seen is the cities, and they devote the IT guidance to make it happen, so.
And they're in the, in the booth in the back doing
Exactly.
production, so they're saying.
Their only job is to look at that screen and make sure it works, yeah.
Internet's super reliable,
Yep.
fiber.
Charlene?
I won't be here on July 1st.
Okay. All right. Buzz?
Nothing new.
Tyler?
No, they had a meeting Monday, but I wasn't here, so. But I did hear that talking of, I think the price range is around 30,000 to get that. But I think it's a good investment if more people get to participate. I mean, even our union meetings, we have 3 locations in Lewiston, Maine, Mansfield, Mass, and Barrington, and we're connected all in, so you could be at any one of the 3 and fully participate in the meetings, and make motions, second, all that, so works out good.
Yeah, it's something that the federal funds can be applied for,
Maybe
that we have.
bring us up to 2021, get us going.
Well, there was a recent public meeting with about 95 people on Zoom, so we might have an issue if that were to ever occur here, so.
I squeeze them in here.
Yeah, in the past, we've used this room and then the conference room down the hall, and they can view it from there, and then they come in to speak. or big meetings. We haven't done this for the planning board, but is the
Yeah.
auditorium.
Lots of meetings in that cafeteria back in a time period that I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gary, any update?
Only mention what Jen already said about the transportation, what's the right word for that?
Funding, grants?
Bundle, I guess, or that was, I think that was accepted at Stratford, as far as the tip, right?
Yeah, we just
TIP.
just amended the tip. That's the Transportation Improvement Program, that's a 4-year funding. Yeah, it was on Friday.
Ed?
Can't think of anything. I'll wait for you to say something, I'll come back.
I said most of my stuff at the beginning, but I do appreciate everybody's recommitment. This is kind of the start, again, of a new year for the planning board. A lot of things that we wanted to get to, didn't get to previously. So let's, recommit to this and see what we can get done. I knew it.
Point of order. Just gotta check to make sure. I want to thank Mr. Davies for the many, many years of being an alternate for us. He's brings a very, even when he's not seated, brings a great perspective and asks questions that, sometimes we missed or have not been brought up yet. Do we need, I can't remember when we voted you in. Is it one, individual
3-year
terms?
term.
3-year term, okay.
But I don't know when mine expires.
It's a 3-year term, but that was 30 years ago.
No, I think we're okay, but that's one thing, I just want to make sure we don't let that lapse, because we want to hold on to him.
You don't have too many options right now.
Yeah,
And I believe somewhere in statute it says that you retain your seat until a replacement has been.
I didn't know if that worked for alternates too. I know, but, last I just know, the alternates were the same.
So, yeah, you have to stay till we find an alternate for the alternate.
Yeah, Buzz doesn't have a term date on his online. He's listed, but
It's because we don't let them leave, that's why.
Jen, do you have anything?
Log in for our webinar tomorrow afternoon. It's all focused on helping communities be best poised to go after those different funding dollars that may be out there. We have Alan Brigham, who's the state liaison to the Economic Development Administration speaking, so he's the guy you gotta go through to get economic development dollars. Katie Easterly Marte is speaking. She's the executive director of New Hampshire Community Development Finance Authority, and they have various pools of funding. And then Chris Parker is going to speak from the municipal perspective, having your projects fleshed out, scoped in your capital improvement program. So from that, initial conceptualization and planning phases, and he'll also go talk about what do you do once you get the grant dollars, so you don't end up in the doghouse.
that did make me think of one last thing. Tyler, I remember watching some of the select board meetings, and there was questions around some of the COVID money essentially that was being dispersed, but the town didn't really know if they had the ability to, because sometimes it's earmarked for certain things. Did that ever go anywhere? Did the town find
Well,
out if they have access to?
we still don't really have a clear picture of, what we can and what we can't. Some of the things, like, I don't know if you guys have heard about, like, Marston putting a well in there,
Yeah.
because it would be the second public well. I mean, if something happened to the water or whatever, it'd be access to it. So that was one of the things
I know it's pretty limited on what you can spend it, and we don't have a lot of municipal infrastructure that would really qualify.
Right.
Okay.
But
It makes a lot of sense, so.
I'm gonna try to spend it though.
It'd be great if we could replace some bridges with it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Let's adjourn.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Monday.